Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Ahmedabad Management Association, I welcome you on this evening speech by Mr. Achal Rangaswamy. I am happy to see a lot of young faces now. So that is a good sign because youngsters are also taking interest in that. I'll just give a brief introduction of Mr. Achal Rangaswamy. I have connected with him. That is, there are two reasons. One is the Ahmedabad Management Association, and another is the music. He is a fond of music. He is a veteran sales and marketing professional. He is a postgraduate from Delhi University and alumnus of prestigious St. Stephen College. He is beginning his professional career. He was in sales at Every India Private Limited, and Mr. Rangaswamy rose rapidly and also had worked in various organizations like Xerox, Usha International, Amtrex, Hitachi Air Conditioning, and finally Bear Ceramics. He has worked for more than 18 years in this field. Apart from being a corporate trainer and mentor to many professionals, he thoroughly enjoys visiting business schools to tell the youngsters on how to prepare for corporate life. Now today's topic is very good. That is a Vuca. Now, the good thing he is from Tamil Nadu and his wife from Ahmedabad. So we get an opportunity to meet him frequently at Ahmedabad. Now he has recently shifted to Pondicherry and he is staying in Oroville, that is International Township, and it is a green place. And from 42 countries, there are 600 people are staying there. It is a very eco-sensitive place like that. I just welcome Mr. Rangaswamy. Now over to you, Rangaswamy sir.
गुड इवनिंग लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन. मुझे लगा चाय बार सर्व हुई थी एनर्जी के लिए. ओके. व्हाट अ डिलाइटफुल फीलिंग टू बी बैक एट योर Firoz Shah Kotla. I call AMA my Firoz Shah Kotla for the simple reason that I think I've spent more time here than at home. My wife will agree with me. And I think she is also happy when I come here because at least for a couple of hours I'm talking to somebody else. I am happier actually, as Giriraj Bhai said, to see so many youngsters out here. I don't know whether it was forceful faculty members known to me who made sure that they turn up here. I think I'm reading their minds. मुख को देखकर मन की बात जानने वाला रंगा स्वामी. Or, people love buzzwords. Hookah, matches with hookah bar and stuff like that. So maybe. Or perhaps, quite simply, hookah probably has been in existence ever since man existed. But then some Johnny who's written books, some management guru, some marketing guy, must have found some spare time and given a definition. Like people say, no, B2B, B2C, and I say this is all nonsense. There is no B2B, there is no B2C, there's only edge to edge. And some of my old students who attended programs of mine at AMA or elsewhere will agree that this is what it is. But anyway, I'm so happy. I'm delighted to see all of you here. I'm delighted that you overcame fear, the rain, the cold, and so many other things that you could have done. I want to thank you for the gift of your time. It's the most precious commodity anybody can give anybody. Thank you very much. And I must reciprocate by conveying my respect and regards to each one of you by wishing you RIP. Are you shocked? Are you surprised? When does somebody talk of RIP? Probably unpleasant moments, uncertain times, scary moments, and depressing environments. There's a reason for it. And the reason, in fact, I want to spell out very clearly is, anybody planning to leave this hall before 7:20, please do so right now. Thank you. I'm glad. Which really means what? That you expect some magic to be delivered at 7:20. I was just sharing this at a training program during the day today at a company where I met a lot of youngsters. And I was saying, if you want people to listen very carefully, say something scary. We couldn't have gone through scarier times than in the last 18 or 20 months. And I will surely tell you why I said RIP. And I'm sure, I promise you, that you will not be unhappy and you will not be upset with me for having talked about RIP. So being resilient, not only living, not only surviving, but thriving in a VUCA world, how does that happen? Fortunately, I'm in a position to talk about it. Maybe 2 years back or 3 years back, I wouldn't have been. I would have been talking like an academician or, a plain theory out of a book. But I'm sure each one of us has got a story to tell based on the last 2 years in particular. I'm not only going to share my story or the story of people that I've known in and around where I stay now for the last couple of years, but somebody from your own town. Only to tell you that behind clouds there are silver linings, and in diverse and situations of diversity, adversity, a lot of things can be created, a lot of things can be done. I'm energized because honestly, I wasn't expecting so many people to turn up, number one. Number two, this is my first offline public interaction. Yeah, my program in the morning was the first offline interaction with people in a training program, something I was waiting for to happen. And this is my first public interaction at AMA. I have a program tomorrow, a program on how to be a sales champion. Anybody interested, please come. I'm an incorrigible salesperson. I keep selling all my programs. Why not? If it's going to do you a world of good, why not? If it's going to change the way you live, why not? If it's going to change your life, why not? So the first and foremost thing is, look at things from a positive perspective, but let us examine what is it that happens in a VUCA world, and what is it that people probably feel or undergo, and how do some people overcome it, and some people undergo it, and some people crumble. So I was born in a coastal town almost 65 years back. Just a week short of 65. I don't know, AMA always manages to fix my programs somewhere around. There was a program that I talked about, living with a purpose, that was exactly on my 60th birthday evening. And I said, this is Mr. K.K. Nair said, ye upar wala karta hai, jo bhi karta hai. So this again is one of those curious, very strange things that we were looking for a date and we couldn't think of a more appropriate date, very, very close to my 65th birthday. I'll genuinely be a senior citizen very soon. Anyway, so listen to him carefully because he's a senior citizen. So I was born in a coastal town, and I was born just 1 kilometer away from what is called the second longest beach in the world, the Marina Beach, in a town called Madras, lovingly called Madras, and now business-like called Chennai. So I have had a lot of exposure to the beaches, the sea, the fishermen, and their catamarans. The catamaran is 3 or 4 logs of wood tied together with a rope. Kata means tie, maran is the word for lakdi, wood. And so the fishermen tie logs of wood together to make a fishing boat. That's what it is. And I've had an opportunity. And today, by a quirk of fate, I now live just 3 kilometers away from some of the famous beaches of Pondicherry and Auroville, the Auroville beach, the Oro beach, various other beaches. And the lesson that I learned in the last couple of years was, when the storms are going to come, a tsunami is likely to happen, or a cyclone. And we've been, in fact, yesterday when we landed in Chennai, my wife said, "Ye barish hamara picha hi nahi, picha chhodti nahi hai." We had rains for the last 20 odd days in Pondicherry, and we land here to hear that it's raining, but fortunately it stopped as we came in, and today was reasonably pleasant. Now, I noticed that when the fishermen are told during the onset of cyclones, the heavy monsoons, they're told, don't venture out into the sea, don't go fishing. Now, can you imagine a fisherman being told not to venture out into the sea? Can you imagine a salesperson being told, don't go to sell? Can you imagine an accountant being told, don't go to your office? Can you imagine a teacher being told, you can't go to your school? Students will love it, but I'm sure over a period of time they also started feeling miserable at home. But what do the fishermen do? What can they do? They only know the water, the sea, the fish, the boat. But you know what they do? These fishermen, and I've had a word with them, because I remember quite a few years back, my son was working on a photography project as a student at NID, and he was walking under the sun on the beach, and I was walking along with him. It was pretty hot. The sun was beating down. And I happened to see fishermen at work. And when they are not at sea, they are busy doing something. And what do? They sit at home and they fix their nets. अपने मछली पकड़ने की जाल की मरम्मत करते हैं. And they fix those nets so well that when the storms pass and the coast guards lift that signal to go out into the sea, they go happily and they get the biggest catch, the freshest catch, and the most, profitable yield that the sea gives them. My question to all of you is, when they sit, and we're not told that you can't go out, instead of moping and raving and ranting and crying and cribbing and criticizing the world, or the Prime Minister, or the climate, or whatever, what do? They sit down, get down to doing their homework, which in various other languages, probably mountaineers can call it going back to base camp. Probably Sachin Tendulkar talks about going back to the nets. And I talk about being in a state of my style of meditation. If you want to know about it, I'm going to share this tomorrow. Now, why does this happen that people feel upset? They feel their livelihood is going to be impacted. And they say, the only thing that I know is this, and I can't do anything else. I'm sure each one of you has discovered something very interesting about yourself in the last couple of years. And so they prepare for a great catch. I wrote this. My question should be modified. Did you fix your nets? Did you use the last couple of years to actually fix your nets? We moved from Ahmedabad at the end of September 2019, just a few days before Vijayadashami. We stepped into our new home in Auroville on Vijayadashami day. We came back to Ahmedabad for just a wedding in the family, a family friend in November. And after that, I came for a couple of programs. Donald Trump made sure I didn't exit Ahmedabad before he did. I said, पहले वो शहर खाली करेगा, फिर मैं जाऊँगा. Now, after that, I couldn't come here, and I was missing this playground called the Firozshah Kotla, and so many friends. Ahmedabad has given me a lot of things. We had moved into a place which at that point of time was green, dark green, jungle, desolate, scary, because in a 3-kilometer area, just the three of us, my wife, my son, and me. Nobody else. It gets dark at 6 p.m. Nowadays, of course, thanks to the rain, it gets dark at 4:30 p.m. and sometimes light doesn't come at all. And it was scary because there was nothing in our neighborhood. Slowly, some construction was happening in the neighborhood. Fortunately, something happened, but that happened later on. And we used to go to Pondicherry, and we used to sit on the beach and guzzle coffee until it was late evening, and then come back home, lock the doors, have a bite, go to sleep. But when lockdown was declared, you can't even go to Pondicherry, you can't even go to Pondi Beach. What do? And that's when we discovered ourselves. And that's when we discovered what life is. And that's when we discovered, I will tell you about this. So, did you fix your nets? If you did not do something about your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, or your spiritual health during these 18 months or 20 months or whatever, did you miss a wonderful opportunity? Anyway, Even now, with a certain amount of scare and things like that, can you look at things from a slightly different perspective and prepare yourself in case something should happen? And that is what, in case, is connected to today's topic. VUCA. I guess most of you know it because people love buzzwords. And there are a lot of youngsters, and youngsters love buzzwords like nobody else. What is VUCA? For those who probably are not so sure, V stands for volatile, a world that is volatile. A lot of reactions, a lot of crazy reactions, sensors, nifty, various things that happen. Cricket teams, betting, various things. Where something is happening today, something else is happening tomorrow. And you can't predict. Uncertainty. You think this is the way things are going, and then suddenly something else happens. The wind blows in a different direction, and you can't predict what's going to happen. People talk in business about planning long-term, planning medium-term, and there are guys who tell me, boss, I can't see beyond the tip of my nose. I used to write in my daily morning Rangaisms, my subscription-based, thought-provoking questions. Subscription-based. Now, question that is asked is, are you senior managers, owners of companies, entrepreneurs, heads of departments planning? I remember a sales manager when I asked him, so how's September looking? And we were talking in April. He says, September? Boss, April to jane to pehle. And I said, you are an HOD, man. You're a VP. You got to know what's going to happen. You got to predict. I mean, you are not there to make things happen. You've got to get things done. And he would say, I can't predict. મને ખબર નથી. શું ચાલે છે મને ખબર નથી. હું કેવી રીતે propose કરું? So the question is, when there are people who can't see beyond the tip of their noses, in this kind of a situation, what are you going to prepare yourself for? Complex, like a bulbulaya, maze. You know you got in, but you don't know how you're going to get out. And I know, because what happened when lockdown happened was there were a lot of people who were stuck at certain places, not being able to communicate with their family, with their parents or children or spouse, and not being able to even say where they're going to be in the next few days, stuck with all kinds of financial and social and various other kinds of obstacles. And A stands for ambiguous. This or that. Of course, at any point of time in life, you're going to be faced with two roads at any point of time. This school or that school, this college or that college, this guy or that guy, CCD or barista. I mean, small little things and big, this city or that city, this job or that job. It'll always be there, and I advise people to think with their heart, but also take their brains along. But easier said than done. कहना आसान है, करना मुश्किल है. So, experts. First, let us look at expert opinion. Management gurus, writers of books, great thinkers, leaders in their field, opinion leaders. What do they say about VUCA and how to handle it? Let's look at them first, and then I'll probably present my own. I am untutored. I have not had any great formal education in management or marketing. I've only learned from the dirt tracks. I've only learned from the markets of India and the small little towns. So, what is it that makes people thrive or survive in the VUCA world? And this is the expert opinion. They'll say, handle volatility with vision, handle uncertainty with understanding, handle complexity with clarity, handle ambiguity with agility. Ladies and gentlemen, I have one request. It would be nice if you listen rather than trying and capturing this on your, the flavor is always more important than what is on the screen. Also, if you can make time to reach AMA, surely you can make time to take your focus off your mobile. I've been doing it since morning today. I looked at messages only when I broke the program. And I was telling people, nobody writes to me, nobody sends me messages, only two things. What does it mean? Either I have no work, nobody is giving me any work to do, or I've told everybody I'm going to be busy addressing people, and so don't disturb me. Only three people know where I am: God, my wife, And she knows where I am, so she's not going to disturb me. And God better not come in the way of us. Sorry if I'm sounding a little audacious or arrogant, but if you're not able to give even 30-40 minutes, when you've made time to come here and your cell phone takes your attention away, imagine what can happen when you are in business or when you are teaching or preparing for an examination. Vuca will expect you to understand things with a lot of clarity. So this is what the experts say. I am not an expert, so I really can't. But yes, there are some traces of it in my own theory. And ladies and gentlemen, I once again wish you RIP. I know you're all shocked. You're all surprised. Why is this guy going on, and that too in dark black? So let me share with you my own flavor of RIP. What does RIP mean to you? We know what it means. We were busy writing that many times in the last couple of years. Though honestly, I don't know whether Indians or Hindus should actually be writing RIP, but people were. In fact, even before the guy was killed by social media, people would write RIP. Very recently, someone wrote, "My dad is doing well. He is recovering. Please don't." I think Vinod Dua's daughter. We are all very keen to send that message off. Be the first one to respond. But make sure the guy is there or not. But RIP, as far as I am concerned, R stands, ladies and gentlemen, for reflection. What is this situation? What is COVID-19? What is this pandemic? What can happen? What are the implications? Dispassionately, not being educated by WhatsApp University or rumors being sent by people. And I think we should be careful enough, intelligent enough, smart enough to know where a loose talk can emanate from and where sensible people are around. Because I'll tell you one thing, if a guy is tweeting or saying earthquake, this is ridiculous. Because if the earthquake was actually there, I would be busy running for my life rather than tweeting. Though there are buildings in Delhi where it's written, tweet later, first reach a point of safety. So first and foremost thing, are you looking at the issue dispassionately? Because when you look at something dispassionately without becoming overly emotional, you probably have a better view of things. I can't think of a better example than, because you'll say, it's so easy to say, but I'll tell you. I read a wonderful book by a great cyclist, an international cycling champion called Lance Armstrong. And I'm sure you have heard about him, read about him, probably for the wrong reasons, unfortunately. I think he became infamous before he became famous. But look at what happened with Lance Armstrong. And in his book called It's Not About the Bike, Armstrong wrote about how cancer was detected in his body. And now when you're told that C word, what's your first reaction? You will only do two things. One, surrender, or fight it. Now, fight it obviously means having such an aggressive stance that when you have an aggressive stance, when I have learned this from boxers with whom I would have spoken, even when you're boxing, you're actually enjoying your sport. You're not there to just hit the daylights out. What they show in the movies is not that. Boxing is a very subtle art. And boxing is about footwork. Boxing is about eye contact. Boxing is about reflexes, and boxing is about geometry and trigonometry and physics and a lot of other things. Same way, cancer can only result in your feeling at the end of the world. Or you fight it and you try somehow to keep yourself alive and you tell the doctor, do whatever it takes to make me alive. The doctor is also groping. Doctors have good intentions. They're doing a lot of research. They're trying to make things happen, but sometimes you end up with knee-jerk reactions. You have a lack of faith, so you jump from one doctor to the other and then mess it up. What Lance Armstrong did, and I'm talking about an international champion, he went to the extent of falling in love, this is my term I've used for it, to actually understand cancer, get under the skin of cancer. understand what it really means. What does cancer mean? And this particular kind of cancer, how does it get caused? How is it managed? Not won over or overcome. Our first reaction, fight or flight, they say no. So same way. A very simple example, all of us have done it. Either we move into a neighborhood or somebody moves into our neighborhood, somebody from the other gender, and we are attracted. What do? Don't we get down to research? Anyway, this is out of tomorrow's sales program that I'm doing, but don't we do research on whoever has moved into our neighborhood? When I moved into a particular neighborhood in Ahmedabad in early 1983, I'm taking the liberty of talking about it in the presence of my father-in-law. I have his permission. I did all the homework possible. What do? Don't you find out who the person is, what her name is, what are her hobbies, what are her interests, what does her brother do? So you probably coach her brother in cricket or teach him how to ride an Enfield Bullet. You do various things, don't you? You do research. Lance Armstrong did the same thing. Instead of fighting cancer, he got under the skin of cancer dispassionately, objectively, and learned what this is all about. And ladies and gentlemen, he went on to write this book. It's not about the bike. That book was not about his cycling triumphs. It was about his falling in love with and finally making cancer an understandable. Edmund Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing did not climb Mount Everest finally in their first attempt. They had 2 failed attempts. Before the third attempt, Hillary turned back, looked at Everest and said, "You are a mountain. You cannot grow. I am a human being and I can grow every which way." And he went back to work. He went back to nets. He went back to the drawing board. He went back to base camp. And he and Sherpa Tenzing and a lot of other people sat down and they literally did what I advise people to do. Take the problem, break it down into small, understandable parts, like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. Solving a jigsaw puzzle is not about fixing the pieces. It's about once having a look behind that picture to see the shape and to understand what is happening. And you keep looking back, you will know if you're on the right track. Hillary and Tenzing went to work on it and they said, very simple, this is the base camp. We go from here to here. And so they went around climbing one summit, another. They did not climb Mount Everest. They climbed 16 small mountains. Small victories. Small little steps can take you up. Again, easier said than done. But there is an example from Hillary and there is an example from Armstrong. What more do you want? It's not Achal Rangaswamy talking theoretically. I'll tell you what, something that I did later on, but let's look at these people, legends. Reflection is about, okay, तो है, COVID है, तो क्या है, किधर है, किसको अफेक्ट कर रहा है, किस जगह पर है, क्या होता है, and what does one need to do? Nothing great. I mean, there are 3 or 4 steps that you must follow and not be adventurous. बने नहीं था है. And people realized that it wasn't so. Age, gender, your general health conditions, these are only theoretical things. A lot of us survived. A lot of us unfortunately lost some very, very good friends, lost a lot of younger colleagues, lost some relatives. But if you've been sitting and thinking about, rather than get bogged down, again I keep saying, easier said than done, but isn't it a matter of life and death? If you are faced with a life and death situation, what will you do? Simple. I always ask this question. I asked this question on 10th December 2016 when I asked people sitting in this very hall, if your doctor tells you got 1 year to live and 11th December 2017 is going to be the last day of your life, how are you going to lead your life? The same way as you're doing right now or differently? And I'm sure all of you would say differently. So why don't you lead it from today itself? Why are you waiting for the doctor to tell you that this is your last year? Why can't you do things as if you're doing it for the first time or you're doing it for the last time? Why not prepare as if it is your first talk or first program or first performance, and why not deliver it as if it were your last? So R is for reflection and I is when the reflection, all the knowledge, all the gyan, all that chintan, all the thing leads to the second step, which is I for introspection. All right, we have an issue. How does it impact me? Ladies and gentlemen, it's not about being selfish, but all of you would have heard this announcement in the aircraft. When the flight is taking off, the lady announces, due to a fall in cabin pressure, individual oxygen masks will drop down automatically. Pull the mask to your face and breathe normally. If you are accompanied by an infant or a senior citizen, make sure first that you've got enough oxygen. Very simple. Now in our generosity or in our selfless, hopefully we'll be written about on Facebook next morning, what do? We try and give the infant the oxygen or the senior citizen. Believe me, even full of oxygen, they can't lift you out of the aircraft. Neither the senior citizen nor the infant. You got to. If you are fighting fit, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing that I realized was I need to take my own health seriously. And I'm thankful to a lot of people who immediately, around that time, it so happened that I discovered certain figures which were disconcerting, which were disturbing. I knew that living out of a suitcase, traveling a lot, going from place to place, and maintaining crazy timings of travel or whatever, could have an impact, and it probably did. But 11th October 2020 was when I went to work on certain things. And I said, okay, fair enough. I can't go out. There's no gym, there is no swimming pool and things like that. At Ahmedabad, I had been busy swimming. That's not, there is a pool nearby. In Auroville, you can't swim. So I went to work on something, and that's when certain things happened, which I will tell you about shortly. But most importantly, are you looking at when you look at the impact of a certain thing on you, you'll realize that from something that looks this big, it narrows down to a small little issue, just ensuring. See, fortunately, we were lucky that social distancing is a funny word. I don't know who invented it. Physical distancing, actually, it should have been that. Physical distancing was not an issue for us because we were only 3 people in 2-kilometer radius. So you could call us lucky, you could say God sent, because we were sent there only 3 months prior to it. But they say no, fortune favors the brave, or these kind of things happen to people who have you know the story of the paratrooper and the parachute and what happened. And when he was coming down in a parachute that didn't open, because he never expected the parachute to open, his last question was, I'm very sure there's no jeep waiting for us downstairs. तुझे क्या फर्क पड़ता है नीचे जीप है या व्हील बैरो, क्योंकि तेरे 206 हड्डियां 6 किलोमीटर के एरिया में फैली मिलेंगी. So it doesn't matter. See, if you think something is not going to happen, it's not. If you think something is going to happen, it's not just about wishing it, you'll have to will it. But there is a very important aspect to introspection, and that is, what do I do? Ladies and gentlemen, we shot an online sales mastery program in Noida during the lockdown. The program was released during the lockdown. It is a sellout during the lockdown. We shot for 5 continuous days. And except when I was in front of the camera, I was always at a distance. The entire crew was at a distance, and mask off, sanitize, have my sip of hot coffee or tea, and then get back. Which leads me to one very simple thought. I know you're saying, how does this happen? Let me share with you my favorite prayer. I say this twice a day, and many times when I'm suddenly confronted with various situations, and my good friends, many of them who are here will probably know it, but I'll share it. First in English and then in Hindi. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. ईश्वर मुझे सहने की ताकत दे, सहनशीलता दे कि जो चीज़ मैं बदल नहीं सकता हूँ उसे मान लूँ, स्वीकार लूँ. जो चीज़ें मैं बदल सकता हूँ उन्हें बदलने के लिए धैर्य और हिम्मत दें, और उन दोनों के बीच में जो अंतर है उन्हें समझने की अकल दे, बुद्धि दे. The problem is, when it rains, we crib. Well, it's monsoon. At least where I stay, this is monsoon time. It is very well known that in Chennai, on Diwali day, the crackers won't burst because it's raining. But since time immemorial, it's been happening. So why crib about the rain? You must equip yourself with a raincoat or an umbrella or a boat. There were times when you needed a boat and not a raincoat. You've got to be prepared for it. It's going to rain. It will be cold in winter, it will be hot in summer. Unfortunately, the way we are treating nature or ill-treating nature, and that's where, going to Auroville, I learned to fall in love with nature. I was telling Giriraj Bhai that I'm a half-baked gardener now, I'm learning, but we've grown a lot of things during this period. Can you believe it? Organically grown lady's finger that travel 20 meters, plucked at 10 a.m., cooked at 10:30, eaten at 11:30. I'm eating organic food, I'm eating healthy food. You can't eat out. We didn't eat out for more than a year. How does it affect me? Become a little selfish. Because you're not being selfish, you're actually doing society a world of good by looking after yourself first. If you can look after yourself, and if you happen to be I don't like this word, head of the family or something like that, but if you're an integral part of the family, it's your responsibility to ensure that you live properly. And don't be adventurous, and don't take pangas with nature. If this prayer can be of any help, please use it. It's not mine. Hundreds of people have shared this. I picked it up a few years back and it came handy because there are certain things I can't do anything about it. It happened yesterday. Sitting at Chennai airport, we were waiting for a flight. It kept getting delayed. I said, it's okay. We're going to Ahmedabad only. No, we're going home. Okay, the guy who was going to receive us also knew it. So I'm sure he would have worried about how to ensure that we get our dinner. Why should I? Can I go up in the air and hijack the aircraft and fly it faster than the pilot? I can't fly. I can't fly a kite, for God's sake, even after living in Ahmedabad for some. I finally graduated to becoming chief furky holder for my brother-in-law. So the point that I'm trying to make is, but can you do something about ensuring that everybody is safe, everybody is healthy? You look after yourself. So जो चीज़ आप कर सकते उसमें ध्यान दो ना. Instead of busily flashing messages, ये हो गया, वो हो गया, and things like that. I know a lot of you became experts in making bhajiyas during, or saying which movie on Netflix is dirtier than the other, or where do you find more colorful language than the other. But did you sit down to do something about your mental, emotional, and spiritual health, or your physical health? This is a wonderful time because nobody was disturbing you. And people are always worried about, I'm running all day. And you're saying, thank God it's Friday, as if you've done a lot of work from Monday to Thursday. Every day was a Friday, wasn't it? So what did we do? So I held myself responsible for looking after myself, and then automatically everybody else connected with me. And the third, my favorite, is when I look at the national animal of India, the tiger, I'm reminded of this word starting with P, preparation. How do I do my homework? All right, it's lockdown time. I can't go and meet people. When people were texting, some people didn't even bother to do that. When people were texting, could you make a phone call? It's more personal. It's more personalized. Can you call up and assure a guy, don't worry, things will be fine. How are you? How are things? Can I send you some help? Some people were in a position to help. I remember 43 years after leaving school, we all bonded. Our school group, throughout, another group, 5 of us who worked in Xerox in Ahmedabad in 1985, all 5 of us cricket freaks created an online cricket chat program where we got legends. And a gentleman like Mr. Salim Durrani, who's never sat in front of a computer, came online for us from Jamnagar, 86-year-old man. And he spoke with us. And we brought in a lot of legends, and we brought in cricket program. The idea basically was to make people feel good. And what did I learn in the process? I learned social media. Prior to COVID, I've been making my own PPTs, doing my own presentations and all that, but the only time I knew a little bit about video conferencing was training a set of salespeople at a real estate company in Ahmedabad. So I'd be sitting with them, and across on the other side of the screen were the teams in Madras or Chennai or Hyderabad or Baroda. Otherwise, none. 22nd or 23rd of March, lockdown was announced. 29th of March, based on the intentions of, I don't know whether Praveen Bhai is here, but Mr. Praveen Sarode, one of my AMS students, said, sir, all your successful programs online kar do. 29th March, we kicked off the first sales masterclass. Ladies and gentlemen, we did 20 of them. Now, what do we mean by preparation? Can you begin with the clear thought that आज जो है, लेकिन ये कल नहीं रहेगा. This too shall pass. Or do you wallow in self-pity, sit down and mope and rave and rant? All right, जब तक ऐसा है, can we call up people? And if you are able to go with the necessary precaution, did you go and assure people? I lost my own school friend during this period. A guy who told, I'm just joining you guys, give me a couple of minutes on one particular Sunday evening. He couldn't, and 2 days later he was gone. So we also faced a lot of harrowing situations, but one of the lessons learned from the tiger. I've been doing a lot of study about, because I spent a lot of time in Rajasthan, and I used to go to Sariska very often. When the numbers were very few and they were dwindling, the Save the Tiger project was on. Only 1,411 tigers at that point of time. And I remember blogging and saying, save this guy, save the gentleman, because the tiger is actually a very interesting animal to learn from, about preparation. If you look at the tiger very carefully, the tiger doesn't jump at random on any prey. The tiger doesn't kill if he is not hungry. The tiger does not attack from behind. Another lesson from my sales programs. The tiger does not attack from behind. And the tiger has a very clear idea. He waits 30, 40, 45, 50 minutes. Nishana lagakar, ankush lagakar. And at the right time he pounces and he goes for what is called the jugular. You know, the jugular vein in a living body is where one blow and shikar dher. Not about catching someone by the tail, spending a lot of energy. My question is, were you conserving or are you conserving your energy during tough times for better times? Are you preparing to go for the kill? When the market opens, will those customers remember me because I spoke to each one of them? Or you're busy with your own. I understand. There would have been a lot of disturbances, a lot of diversions, a lot of distractions, a lot of things bothering you for you to worry about somebody else. But this is the time when you ensure you're strong and you spread strength. There was a number of small little things friends of mine did. Unbelievable. And we only looked at one factor, and that factor was, are we future ready? Or are you still thinking about, ye ho gaya, ye ho gaya, ye ho gaya? Oh yes, sure, you need your entertainment. So exchange recipes, fair enough. You watch Netflix because you're tired after doing some work. But more importantly, how are you preparing for better times? Because it does two things to you. When you're preparing for better times, what you're actually telling yourself is, you know, everybody knows. One wise man was asked, you all know this. I don't have to repeat, but I still will. A wise man was asked, what do you think is the only statement that applies in any situation in life? And he said, ye waqt bhi guzar jayega. This too shall pass. Are you resilient enough? People who are resilient are not tough. People who are resilient are not timid. People who are resilient do not fight. What they do is they conserve the energy for the right occasion. Sports people, Olympians call it peaking at the right time. And Sachin Tendulkar probably says, I know because I've been giving examples of Sachin, that at 4:30 p.m., if he is in Mumbai, if he is in India, if he is in Mumbai, Sachin Tendulkar will come to a particular place. I know, because I've seen him. And he'll practice his life out for the next 3 hours until all the bowlers, young bowlers, will be tired. Their shoulders will be sore and say, Ball Thakre. He's not talking of the politician. Saying, Ball Thakre, ball dalo. And they'll keep throwing the ball and he'll keep playing it. Why? Why does Sachin Tendulkar needs to go to the nets? Why does Sachin Tendulkar need to go to the nets? Well, he does. So should you, and so can you, and so must you. Because this too shall pass. And when the things are better, when things are looking up, are you fit and fine and ready to face the world, to deliver results, and to lead people to never-ending improvement, as we say? So these were lessons that didn't come easily. Going on a particular kind of a diet or a workout schedule, something that you don't become fanatical about, but you take it very seriously. doing certain things at a time, keeping yourself very busy, staying away from all this nonsense of rumor mongering. Obviously, you get so much. The problem with all of us is we got addicted. And we're keen to know what's happening. Daily figures of deaths and how does it bother you? I mean, I'll be honest. If somebody, please forgive me for saying this. If it's happened in Brazil, it's happened in Brazil. If you don't have a brother or sister in Brazil, don't worry about it. And what is happening in one particular town may not happen in yours. If you mind your, you can't jump, the moment Diwali is there, you can't jump across to Udaipur or Abu or Manik Chowk. Then it's your own. The second wave, I remember being here to train a company which does not believe in online training, and I came here for a couple of days, but I ensured airport, Novotel, training, Novotel cab, in Novotel cab, out and out. RT-PCR, all kinds of things happening. But then, if the client says, this is the only way, we don't know online, took a chance, take a calculated risk, but don't risk your life. I don't know, but RIP is a very pleasant thing if you look at it from this perspective. Believe me, I feel different. I feel energetic. I feel relaxed. And I also feel that this has been a wonderful opportunity to make things happen. So, are you future ready? Are you practicing RIP? Look, I'm not talking about tomorrow something. Let's be realistic. Some guy may tell you about Omicron or whatever. We don't know. And this was exactly the situation in December 19 and Jan 20. And I guess we were not bothered. I saw the signs of it at Auroville, where in the cafes, there was a sanitizer on every table, and people were wearing masks, and maybe we were inclined to say, pagal hai. Now you can work it out for yourself. Okay, I spoke about Lance Armstrong. Okay, I spoke about Edmund Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing, and about a lesser known guy called Achal Rangaswamy. Let me talk about somebody from your own town. Somebody whom I've had the pleasure of knowing for a long while. It was during these tough times. There's this human being who is a human like everybody else, who has emotions like everybody else, feelings like everybody else, family members. And he actually belongs to a community from Gujarat. And that community I know because mane khabar chhe. Having spent enough time in Gujarat, when I hear a surname, I know Patel che, Nagar che, ki Vaishnav Vaniya che, or whatever, and maybe these are the traits, or whatever. It's just an interest in understanding cultures because it helps you when you sell. People like to buy, nobody likes to be sold. So you need to make friends in a different kind of way. I have someone who belongs to a community which is known for warmth, which is known for very engaging talk, illustrious people, well-read people, cultured people. And from this person, I also learned something. And when I came to know that he has done something exceptional, I thought I shouldn't miss the opportunity of sharing this with you because you can't talk to Edmund Hillary, he's not around. You can't talk to Armstrong, he's in the US, and he may not meet you. But Ankit Joshipura, please come up. Now let me introduce this gentleman. Ankit Joshipura is a resident of Ahmedabad and perhaps one of my oldest diploma in sales students at AMA. We had engaging conversations in the classroom, maybe sometimes even in this classroom, number 3 or 5, and then outside and during our famous tea breaks. The best thing about AMA and training programs is the poha and the upma and if you're lucky during festive season, fafda jalebi. Many guys come to the program for that, not to listen to me. But Ankit was not that. Ankit actually came. He was, I think, at that time associated with an insurance company, if my memory serves me right. And he went on to do brilliantly in life, not only as a sales and marketing person, but played many roles. Ankit has acted in movies, he's made movies, he's acted in some great advertisement. He's making faces and playing around and things like that, but a guy who comes across as a very lively guy. Rather than my tell you about, only thing was I got to know that Ankit has published a book. And he wrote it during these times. And he wrote it about people whose lives have to do with scenarios that could have bogged them down, made them feel miserable and demotivated. But he says that these stories are, I haven't seen the book. I hope he will give me a copy. And મને ગુજરાતી વાંચવામાં બહુ આનંદ થાય છે. I learned Gujarati so that I could read a book on Muhammad Rafi Sahab, written by another Dave, former Gujarat Samachar editor. And so I'm willing to do that. But Ankit, I think it will make sense if you come and talk about the book. Come. Maybe a brief.
So, good evening. Thank you, Achal sir, for this wonderful opportunity. Let me introduce myself or rather as a 13,000 part of Sri Rangaswamy sir, because 13,000 is the number of students that was been introduced, he has trained. So I'm the last one. Basically, there are a lot many training programs that I have attended. I have conversed with him. One thing, if I have to sum up about today's talk and then come to what I have done, is that he never said it, but he has always lived what I'm now going to say, which is stay always positively dissatisfied. So one thing that I've learned from Achal sir is that stay always positively dissatisfied. And that's what I did. Just like all other, during COVID, I mean, 9 out of 8 people down with COVID. I lost my father. I was hospitalized and I, took him to the hospital. When I came back, he was vanished. I couldn't see him. I just got the news that now you are the eldest person of the family. So, that was the moment when the thought came in, and I gave the title of my book, which is ઘડતર કરે એવી ઘટનાઓ. So લાઈફમાં જીવનમાં એવી ઘણી બધી ઘટનાઓ થતી હોય છે. And I started by writing, stories about in and around what is happening, and then I wanted to take it to the lighter side, so I just shifted the genre, and the book is actually going to be launched here on 9th. So just a few days after today, precisely 5 days after this. The book is all about how you look at life, how you look at everything that you do, and how you can change the perspective to learn out of it. Sir, if you allow, I just would like to share some of the things that I have jotted down in the book. Like, we all crib about, we all talk about, or we are all, go behind the curtain. The name of the curtain is Generation Gap, So I have written a chapter which says Smileys thi sambandhona samikaran sudhi. I researched and I came to know that every smiley is created with certain text. So I'll not take much of time, but just to give you one example, that when you want to actually send a smiley to someone, you have to type 2 dots and break it over. Now, according to Indian culture or Hindu Shastra or Sanskriti that we have brought up with, 2 dots is the sign of Purnata. Right? And break it over is કોઈ વસ્તુને અંદર આવરી લેવી. So, જ્યારે તમે પૂર્ણતાને તમારી લાઈફમાં આવરી લો, તો સ્વાભાવિક છે કે તમારા ચહેરા પર સ્માઇલ જ આવવાનું છે. This is just a small thing. So, every smiley has been, I have kind of given that definition. So that's what is there in the book. Similarly, there are 10 chapters. And I take this opportunity to invite all of you on 9th, just the way you could find time for today to come. And without much ado, I really would like to thank Achal sir for, giving me this opportunity. And thank all of you to give me great cheer by some claps of yours. Thank you. book I would like to present to you.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm one of the early recipients, is it?
First one, sir.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
I'm so glad.
Thank you.
Thanks
sir.
very
Thank
much.
you.
All the
Thank
best.
you.
Well, he's got a wonderful name and he lives up to it. So, ladies and gentlemen, RIP. And I'm very sure now you're not scared, you're not upset. You're not going to scream at me for ये बोलता क्या है. I have a few other acronyms also. लेकिन वो मैं कल मेरे सेल्स के प्रोग्राम में रिलीज करूँगा. So आप में से जो लोग आना चाहते हैं, you're most welcome. You can go and register yourself. They're waiting. There are a lot of guys, and I've already been told by the organizers. So we never expected so many people to register. I said, he makes it happen. You must have good intentions and you must think positive. I must crack a cliched joke, Ankit, in response to what you said. It is straight out of a movie called No Entry. सर आप बार बार बी पॉजिटिव बोलते हो, मैं क्या करूं, मेरा ब्लड ग्रुप ही बी पॉजिटिव है, so that's it. So then later on, oh, positive are some people also. So I wish you.
That's me, sir.
That's it. So we have something in common. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for your time. I would like to take questions. In fact, I should give that opportunity to Giriraj Bhai to do that. But should you wish to stay connected, should you wish to remain in touch, should you be willing to tolerate me more, longer, later, whenever, this is how I can be reached. I spend most of my working day on social media. Occasionally, I do some work. So, sir, I think we are close to, and this is the problem that, we start on time, we end on time, but I think Giriraj Bhai, I'll request him to take the floor for a couple of minutes.